Dive, hundreds of you are commenting on President Trump's tweet from overnight to temporarily suspend immigration to the United States amid the coronavirus pandemic. So if you'd like to weigh in on President Trump's tweet and his plan, you can do so by texting us at 763-797-7215. Now, the president's tweet says, in light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration to the U.S. There were no details as to when or how this would happen, but the president already stopping incoming travel from the UK, Europe, and China from non-American citizens. And non-essential travel restrictions were extended between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada until May 21st. And our Sunrisers had a lot to say about this. As I said, well over 100 comments. Sabrina here agreeing with President Trump, saying nobody should be coming in or out of the country right now. And Jamie, not surprised, saying we knew this was coming. Immigration has absolutely nothing to do with this pandemic, thinking it's more political. And again, if you'd like to weigh in, you can do so by texting us 763-797-7215. And Gio, White House officials are saying that the president has kind of been talking about this for a while now. It's been under consideration for a while now, and he might even sign this executive order as early as this week.